Welcome back. It's day 107 of Daily LeetCode. We are back once again. The hyperbolic coding chamber has blessed us with another day. The hyperbolic coding chamber is not a cult, but it is a good place to learn about how to slay some algorithmic complexities. So you're going to want to join. And we are back once again. We have some comments. Voltaire Public says, I met your cursor. Okay, this is true. I actually didn't. Wait, can you see my. Wait, it doesn't come up anymore. But yeah, I have massive. Wait, I actually realized my cursor is gone. I don't know why it doesn't show that. But yeah, I actually do have a massive cursor. And you kind of need this. I don't know. Yo, on computers, it's actually hard to see the cursor. But yeah, I think I'm an old dude. Maybe subconsciously. I just can't see. But online gamer says you are wise to refine your way. Glad to see you are taking inventory and refining what you've created so far. The key to long-term endurance starts with self-reflection. Adapt, and then adapt some more. Wow, this is deep. This is deep. You have a way with words. Yeah, a lot of the people who comment, like the people just have like a way with words. It's just incredible. So yeah, there was I don't know if it's okay to mention this, but someone messaged me and asked me a few questions, but they were also incredible with words. And yeah, the people who comment on this channel are just like part-time like writers, man. It's crazy. So that's really awesome. But I've been learning and practicing every day for no less than 6 hours a day, no exceptions, for about a month already. Dang. We'll continue until we put a good challenge. Dang. Yo, this is fire. I think I'm blocking the comment, but it sounds like Ricky Ricardo is on the grind. Just the fact that you can do 6 hours a day is like incredible discipline, man. Hats off. That's like goal for me, is being able to sit down for 6 hours a day and just run towards an objective you've set. So that's just incredible. We'll continue until I'm able to get a job. How long until I become hireable? To be honest, I'm not I don't know too much about this, but I think it seems like, what do they say, like success is when luck meets preparation, I think, or something like that, or when luck meets luck meets preparation. And it sounds like you're preparing. So it sounds like when you do get a chance for that opportunity, and I'm sure it will come, because you just have, I think most of the time, I think you just have to wait. But it sounds like when you do get that opportunity, it sounds like you will fry. So maybe I wouldn't ask how long until I'm hireable, but maybe how long could you keep up this pace? So I think as long as you keep up the pace and keep moving, I have no doubt you'll find what you're looking for. But yeah, I wish I knew more about that. I'm not. I don't have too much. The market seems crazy. I'm gonna be honest. The market seems crazy. There's also some communities like Blind that you can hop on. And actually, I would recommend that. Don't browse it for too long, because Blind can be pretty toxic. So can CS Career Questions, but both of those places have. I would say more so Blind has people who are in industry, and it's really a subsection of a small number of people, because most of the people who comment there are at these top tech companies, and it's not exactly reflective of most of the companies that, you know, we'd be likely to work for. But I think it does give you some kind of pulse on like what's going on. So I'd recommend the Team Blind app, or maybe and CS Career Questions too. Maybe just a little bit, just a smidge on both, because both of them have a tendency to become pretty hardcore. So yeah. So I think yesterday I were talking about diminishing returns, and also with the comment from the online gamer about refining. I think we need to refine. I can't tell. I don't know. I can't tell if what I'm experiencing is good or bad, but I feel like some kind of rabid animal. Like, I feel like I'm so ready to like run after or like do what I need to do in terms of like the work, like learning and all these other things, like these goals I'm setting up. Then I'm just like I don't know how to explain it. I feel like rabid is the best way to explain it. I can't tell if that's good or bad though. So I think part of the rabidity is the impatience, and a lot of kind of what got me here was focusing more on patience, or got me to day 100. So I don't know. I feel like I'm at like a crossroads. Maybe I lean into the rabidity and run even harder. But I'm not sure if that's supposed to happen. I can't tell if I'm now ready to try even harder, or if I'm just become overwhelmingly impatient. And I think that's a tough thing to reconcile. Because impatience really is the killer, especially when we talk about stuff like delayed gratification and instant gratification. Patience truly is the killer. But yeah, I guess I'm not exactly certain. So what I'm going to do for now though, the LeetCode is going to stay at an hour a day. And the lowest I think we'll ever do on the channel is 15 minutes, because that's what I started with. But we're going to stay at an hour, but I think maybe the stuff I'm doing outside, maybe I'll cap to 2 hours. Because right now it was at like 3 or 4, and sometimes more. And then I was like, oh, I also want to do this. So I'd add another 30-minute block until I was spending like, it'd be an hour of LeetCode plus like 6 hours of other stuff. And then plus work, that's like the whole day. But it's funny though, because I realize now if I didn't have to work, like previously I would think if I didn't have to work, for example, I thought for example in the summer in high school, the summer between going to a different grade, or in the summer in college where I was working some of those summers. But I always thought that given infinite time, I would do, all those goals that I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to become really good at animation, and I wanted to become really good at this, or really good at that. When I was always presented with the opportunity to have enough time to explore those interests, I always fumbled it. Like, I would spend maybe 30 minutes for 2 days, and then I'd go back to playing League for like 10 hours a day. And that always bothered me. So I couldn't understand why I couldn't just sit down and do what I wanted to do. And so I always had the idea like, oh, if I had infinite time, then I could do what I wanted to do. But it was just it was just never like an actual thing that was lived. So now I'm thinking, it's funny because now I think with the LeetCode and sticking to this, I think if I couldn't do 8 hours, but let's say if I had no work, like no job, I think I could actually sit down for like I think I could legit do it for I'll be reserved or conserve. I don't know what the word is, but I'll show some restraint. I was gonna say 6. I think I could do 3 to 5 hours of work a day if I had no work. So I could spend like 5 hours a day doing something, and that would be the ideal dream. Because right now we do 8 hours of like actual work, and then I do this stuff outside of work. So it's really like, 13. So with the other version, instead of doing 13 hours of half my work and half of work, it would just be 13 hours of my work, which would be pretty incredible. Which is interesting to see, because whenever I think of like people who have gotten like really, really good at something, usually the end bit of that is some sort of monetization. But as a function of that monetization, instead of having to now like trade your time for something else to sustain it, like, if you're like a really good dancer, you have to do something to sustain your day to day, and then you dance in your free time. But once you can sustain yourself on dancing, now you can dance more. I don't know why I'm using dancing. You can dance more than the person who has to sustain themselves. So it's kind of like a way to divide the competition even more. I guess assuming you dance more with the free time. But it is interesting. That being said, it's just an interesting time to be alive. So just some ideas. I think I'm going to dial it back until I have more of an idea of what to do. I'm still going to make progress on it though, because I couldn't stand not making progress on it. But yeah, it's just an interesting time. So some thoughts, some thoughts. But yeah, I also noticed that long bouts of focus, not now, but I also think it's interesting because I'm both the driver and the mechanic. So if the car is like a vehicle for where I'm trying to go, but I also drive it, right? And I also am the mechanic. So it's a little weird since some of the work I do on the vehicle, like the structure, like how I'm going about my goals, like the changes I make, the slight tweaks here, maybe I completely pull the engine out, stuff like that, affects me as the driver. So it's just a really strange thing because I'm noticing that, and maybe this just gets into like biological stuff that I don't really understand, but when I slowly ramp up the focus, so doing LeetCode focusing for like an hour, you get pretty deep into the focus depending on the problem. Sometimes I'll be working on a problem and I'll literally just like dissolve, like my entire persona will dissolve, and then I'm just in my head like running through different like ways to solve the problem, and I just become silent. I just stop talking, and those are good because it gets me to focus. But I realize sometimes when it gets really long, it's fine. It helps me focus. There's a centering process. When I focus on these problems. And I think LeetCode problem or the problem sets or just the way programming problems work, there's like a degree of like bounded creativity that you can find where there's almost infinite solutions, but a binary answer like pass or fail. And there's 2,000 of them. And I feel like it's really hard to replicate that. Only in games, really, you can kind of replicate that. But even then, you couldn't really do it without, the game taking a certain amount of time. You having to play with other players. But what I'm trying to say is, focusing for that long, it seems to have like a weird side effect where it makes things outside of LeetCode easier to focus on. So I guess focus for an hour on LeetCode. Now I can focus at the gym, or now I can focus when I'm learning. The problem is, though, I think it has like a side effect where if I focus for too long, for example, if I focus on LeetCode, and later on in the day I'll focus for another 2.5 hours on work. On learning. I guess I also call it work, but like learning other things outside of work. Then I notice I get like really tense. Like my mind is like a laser. It's just a really interesting thing because it's kind of hard to unwind. And it's interesting because I experienced this last year when I was doing I used to do LeetCode instructional videos every day. This is like a year ago. And I used to experience that same effect, but I was only doing it for around 20 minutes at that time. Basically what I think it is, I think there's like maybe a period of habituation. Because I don't really understand this stuff very well, but from watching the Human Lab Science podcast, I think that focusing, right? We know that focusing, there's a lot of different exercises you can do for focusing, stimulates the prefrontal cortex or something like that, which ideally I think means that you're gifted more executive function. And I think a side effect of more executive function can also, I guess, too much that you're not used to is tensity, like being overly tense, or just a little bit like, almost like when you have too much coffee. That's how coffee is as well, right? You take a lot of caffeine, get a lot of stimulation, right? And it's a stimulant, so that's why a lot of people need coffee to work. It kind of has those similar like centering effects, similar to like a very, 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 very mild form of like, a drug you might take for like a mind thing. So all that to say, I think it's a habituation issue, and I think if I'm focusing more, I need time to get used to the level of stimulation that I get afterwards. Because with the 20-minute videos, I would experience exactly what I'm experiencing now, except, I'm doing an hour now. So why am I experiencing it? I think it's because it's not the hour I'm doing now, it's the 3 hours I'm doing later in the day. So I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Basically, what I'm saying is, a year ago, we were in Kaioken, right? When Goku first turns Kaioken, he has to be careful, right? Or he'll blow his arms off. Now, we can do an hour. That's like Super Saiyan 1. And I think 3 or 4 hours, that level of EF after that is like Super Saiyan 2. And I think we're just not ready for it. Because after the session, like, even after the session until the next day, I'm like physically tense. And it's pretty crazy. So, I think I'll just have to slowly ramp up. And that's how I got rid of that problem before. Because this has happened multiple times. So I think I just have to slowly ramp up the focus. Otherwise, it gets pretty overwhelming. But, yeah, that was just a long rant. But it was just something I was thinking about. And also, I've been starting the videos late, so I haven't had much time to talk in the beginning for fear of running out of time. So you started early enough today for that not to be the case. That being said, we have an hour of LeetCode to do. We were doing the weekly the weekly contest. We were doing find all good indices. We had a breakthrough on how to compress the problem into 3 invocations of an ON call, of an ON iteration. And I think now, it was pretty much, I think it was almost there, except the one issue being that we just have to fix a minor bug, and then I think we'd be good. And then I'm not actually certain we're going to do the last problem. I think we'll just go back to easies because today is Thursday, and there's only a few more days to the next weekly contest. So, that being said, that is what we're going to do. So, yeah. So, yeah, we're just going to jump into it. Make sure to join the HCC. The HCC needs you. So, the Hyperbolic Coding Chamber is growing at a ridiculous rate. We have 400,000 members joining every second. And so now we've set up a queue, right? And it's a priority queue. And you only get in depending on how many easies you've solved. So you're going to want to join as soon as possible before you end up in the queue. Because so you're just going to want to join before it's too late. So we're going to be borrowing some infrastructure from the U.S. government, as well as some top tech companies, so we can divert more of our resources to the HCC. So in talks with big tech companies. And basically, if you notice that Google is a little slow today, or you can't hop on your favorite social media apps, it's because, it takes a village to raise a child. So all of our resources are currently going to the HCC. So we're going to jump into it. So it's day 107, and I'm going to start the timer now. So you are given a 0 indexed integer array, nums of size n, then a positive integer k. We call an index I in the range k is less than or equal to I, and I is less than n minus k. Good if the following conditions are satisfied. K elements that are just before the index I are a non-increasing order, and the k elements that are just after the index I are a non-decreasing order. Non-decreasing, which means they're going up. And since they're going non-increasing before they're going down, so the indexes that follow that are 2 and 3. So if we go to index 2, 0, 1, 2 right here, we go k elements before it, right? We're non-increasing, so we're decreasing. So we're going 2, 1, 1, right? 2, 1, and we're good. And then the 2 indices afterwards, 3, we're non or non-decreasing order, so they're going up. So it goes 1 and 3, and so 1 is a good indice. And so the issue here is that what we did before is that we had like an n squared operation to do this. We would literally check every indice and then do a k, 2k operation, checking both left and right side, determine if the indice was good. Then I realized we could just do overlapping. If we go this way and just mark all the indices that have at least length of 2 and are in non-increasing order, we can just mark them, right? And that ends up just being just these two ones right here. And then we can go in reverse and do the same thing and just mark those. What we end up with is, if we do puts, oops, I forgot we're in TypeScript today. If we do console.log non-inc, and actually we'll put non-dec. Oh, we actually have it already printed. I wonder why we're not printing it. We can actually delete this massive. Actually, no, that was our basis, so we'll keep that. So what we see here is our non-increasing version, right? So this is non-increasing. These are all the indices, right, with a minimum length of k elements, a minimum preamble, right, of 4 elements, non-increasing. And we see that to be true here, right? We see that 4 is that index going from the left-hand side. If we check the right-hand side for non-decreasing, we want to go in the opposite direction and make sure that we're always decreasing with that minimum preamble of k elements, right? And we get, right, decreasing. So we mark 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You mark index 5, right, as valid. And then we also mark index 4. So our answer should only be 4 now that I'm looking at it. Oh, our expected answer is 4 and 5. Okay, that makes sense. So we're missing a number, and it looks like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I see. So our right-hand side includes that, or our left-hand side is not, which is why they're not overlapping correctly. But it should. This is decreasing, this is decreasing, this is decreasing. So we should mark 4. And we should also mark 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We should also mark this one. And let's see how we do our marking. Right, we start from I equals 0, I is less than nums at length minus k, I plus plus. We say non-inc nums is greater than or equal to k is equal to 4. So the non-inc sub I is going to still be 0, so we're not going to do anything to it. So num sub I is greater than or equal to num sub I plus. I see. I think we need to go in reverse. Well, actually, let's look at this through. Num sub I is greater than or equal to num sub I plus 1. Right? So we have this is greater than this, 1. 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 This is not greater than this. I think switching between these is kind of messing me up. Let me just copy and paste this right here. So you have 0, 1, right? We start here. So is this one greater than this one? Yeah, so non-inc. Nums plus equal 1. This is greater than this. Non-inc is now 2. This is greater than this. Non-inc is now 3. This is greater than this. Non-inc is now 4. And then means non-inc sub 1. Non-inc sub I is going to be equal to 1. Right? And now we're going to check I'm confused. If we had k equals 2 and these two are smaller, right? So we put this one as a non-increasing index. Let's say this one wasn't greater than it. Sub I. You have num sub I is greater than or equal to I plus 1. Non-inc nums becomes 1. It's greater than this. Non-inc nums become 2. This is greater than this. Becomes 3. This is greater than this. Becomes 4. And so we get to this one. Non-nums is greater than or equal to k, which is true. Set it equal to 1. Set it equal to 1. Then we check if this one is greater than or equal to the next number. Basically, we set non-nums equal to 0. Maybe if non-nums is greater than or equal to k, right, then we've set it there. And what we really want is something like this, which is a little bit convoluted. Because when we get to 35765, I've set it to 1, we go to the next indice where it's still greater than k. We set it. And the problem is now we just set everything equal to it afterwards. That's definitely not the play. Something structurally wrong with this. We validate these 4, which means that this one should be overlapping. Then we validate these 4, which means that this one should be overlapping. Maybe it should be more of a decrease. So instead of non-nums equals, this would take away the subarray part of it. This would take away the subarray part of it. Now we'd just be looking at the elements completely, regardless of this, or regardless of I think I'm almost seeing it. Ours goes like this. So 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, which is 4 elements. So we grant this one the opportunity. Zero, one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you get up to 4. You grant 35765 the overlapping dot. Two, 0, 1, 2, 3. I don't understand. 8787. There's like a slight difference between what's happening. There's a slight difference. It's like a slight difference. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I feel like theirs actually takes into account the range that just happened, or the previous range. When we get to 32755, there's a history here. Ours has no history. So if you decrease nums, there's no histories, or the integer representing the number of numbers, which was number of elements which were not increasing, doesn't have enough personality to show the history or the last k elements. greater than or equal to num sub I plus 1. I don't get it. Now, if we were... Why wouldn't this work, though? Maybe is it that when we set a number as non-decreasing and we have another if in here. If non-inc nums equals k, then we also want to set non-inc sub I plus 1 equal to 1. Because there has to be a border. Oh. Has to be a couple, or maybe multiple borders. We're basically asking for the overlap. So where the number that we're looking for is going to, we basically want to mark all of these numbers after. Let me explain it instead of just running the code. Basically, you see it as like a valley or something, and you know, the left hand side is going down some, then going straight for some, then going down some, then going straight for some, right? And there's no way that the right side is going like, you know, right down, right down, right down, ending over here. The numbers that we're looking for exist here. They stop on the same level. So if we go all the way down, or the numbers are in the center, are pretty much at the deepest point of the trough. Let's try this one for now. You know what? I'm curious to see if we try this one with our previous version. Because I think our method of checking overlap is just too simple. But I think we have the right intuition. Yeah, even here we only get 2 and 4. So I think the problem is How could all of them be good indices unless you're counting yourself? That's the only way. Oh, and when you reset, we can reset it back to 1. Good ranges. I don't understand. There are 2 good indices in the array. Let me reread the problem. Maybe we have new context. Nums 2111 k equals 2. 0, 1, 2. We have 2 indices that are non-increasing. We have the same here for 3. Then for next to 0, 1, 2. We have 2 indices that are actually non-decreasing. We have 1, 3, and 3, 4. We're not increasing. What if we changed our way of going about this? I think this is already copied down here, right? What if we still do the overlapping, or it's not exactly the overlapping, but we'll still do a left and right pass, and we'll be comparing some data between those passes. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily overlapping, but in a way it sort of is. What if we remove all of this stuff, and I just need some space to think. What if we'd have a left pass which would just be an array that stored how many numbers were decreasing up until that index. So if we start at k equals 2, it would be 0, right? 1 would also be 0. And now when we finally get to this one, we would put two numbers were decreasing up until that point. And then here we could just say you would say 3 were decreasing. This doesn't work either. I think it doesn't work either because it implies that we can know how many numbers were decreasing in one pass. If we could, we would have solved the problem by now. We've already solved this problem, but we would have had a linear solution already. So I think we need to go a pre-compute route, where we pre-compute some data. But the data that we pre-compute can't be based on knowing how many numbers exist ahead of time. Knowing how many numbers were non-increasing before. That's exactly why we're trying to pre-compute the data, so it'd be kind of circular. So 2, 1, 1. and 1k. 1, you have k remaining, just 2 dots. 3 remaining, 3 dots. Putting a dot there, but not for the other one. Not quite making sense. Is greater than or equal to num sub I plus 1. Num sub I is greater than or equal to num sub I plus 1. Num sub I is greater than or equal to num sub I plus 1. The one we're failing at is this one. No, it's not this one. I'm so confused. How could this one be? How there's no way that this index could be a good indice because it's 863,000, and it says that the k elements that are just before the index I are non-increasing.